video is brought to you by W Energy. Make sure you use promo code SquallaMan446 for 10% off your next order.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Preezy from Listen Up, Listen In podcast. This is a podcast discussing different topics that will help us motivate, educate, differentiate, heal, laugh, grow, and improve ourselves throughout our daily lives. With my special co-host guest, trust me, you are going to laugh and have a good time. So whether you're in your car, relaxing at home, on the job, hanging out with your family and friends, get ready to tune in to Listen Up, Listen In podcast. See you soon.
Yo, what's good, everybody? This is your man, Young Squalla, and this is another episode of Always Everything with Squalla podcast, where we discuss everything always. And today, I got a special guest with me. If you can introduce yourself for me, bro.
All right, so my name is KT Brown. I am a young adult author. My novel is titled Path to the Lion, Rising Kingdom, Part 1, The Birthright, which is a two-part story. Because once I tried to publish the novel, it added up to like 600 some pages, so I had to break it down in 2 parts.
That's what's up. So what's the book about?
Yeah, so the book is about this young prince. He's pretty much the second born out of this African-like nation called Nubaria. His name is Moses. His older brother is Ramses, who is like 14. And just basically, you get a good bit of sibling rivalry. That's why it's called the birthright. They both fighting pretty much against this evil that is a threat to their nation.
Cool. So, I know you said you don't know, but is this book like meant for what age group is this book meant for?
I'm gonna say between 13 and I would say 18 and older. Okay. I could say like preteens, like 11, 12-year-olds can read it. Because I remember when I was in 5th grade, it was Harry Potter is a huge YA novel. Yeah. And people, children in 5th grade were still reading it. So,
yeah.
So,
So, I have a few questions about being a writer. So how long have you been writing?
Oh man, I've been writing for a very long time. I want to say I had my aspirations that started in elementary school because I had such a vast and vivid imagination. So it came from elementary all the way down to middle school. I started writing like little fan fiction pieces, short stories. Started writing poetry. In the 12th grade, I was pretty much into hip hop, so inspired by hip hop, wrote poetry, and just continued to writing down the line. Poetry and I would say the fantasy world.
Okay. Which one do you prefer?
My first love is prose, so that's the fantasy, writing, just writing fantasy fiction. Yeah, just growing up with my dad, he had a whole collection of DC Marvel comics, and it took me to see Star Wars, and just inspired me.
Definitely. Yeah, we gonna get on that DC Marvel too.
Oh yeah, I know we got that coming up.
So at what point do you think a person should be able to call themselves a writer? And at what point did you call yourself a writer?
It just got to be a calling for you, some people, I know plenty of people that didn't consider themselves a writer until they reached like the age of 50, 60 some years old. There's some people that's in their 20s that start to consider themselves a writer.
Right.
For me, I was about 19 years old when I fully considered myself to be a writer. I knew past that age, not past that age, but before that age, I was a writer. But, back then I was young, I wanted to be an athlete, play sports, just another young man coming up in age. But but once I gave all that up, I knew at the age of 19, this is what I wanted to do fully. And I just worked my way up.
Okay, that's what's up. So you said you want to do it. You want to be writing full time.
I'm hoping one day, but right now, I'm just writing part time while I'm teaching higher ed. So I'm
Okay,
an English teacher, which is pretty much making the money right now. But
that's cool.
I'm also trying to promote literacy. It's more than about just making bread.
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff for teacher appreciation too. Whenever when it comes up, I'm gonna remember you.
Okay.
Definitely be in touch about that.
Okay. Cool.
So let's see what are the most important elements of a good piece of writing?
Some of the elements of good piece of writing. So I teach this to my students too, especially my 101, 102 students, my dual enrollment students. You want to follow the writing process. You got pre-writing, which pre-outlining your work will help you out big time. Just in case you get stuck, you can go like my mentor Jeff taught me this when I was at Converse University. He taught me something called B points. It was like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and each of those acts, you had different. I won't say different scenes, but in novel form. And so that there can help outline your novel. or even if you're not writing a novel, you're just writing a short story, you can still have some type of outline for it. But that's one of the aspects of good writing. Have an outline, know what you're doing. And my advice for anyone that wants to write, never edit while you write. That's going to slow you completely down. Just write it.
Do like the whole rough draft,
Yep.
revision, all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, because if you don't follow that writing process, man, you're going to be stuck.
that's
It's
crazy.
going to be hard.
That's crazy because
Trust and believe
I remember back in high school, man. They used to stress that. I'm remembering school days.
Oh, yeah.
Man. So, in your personal creative process, how do you develop your characters for your books?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. So, how I develop my characters, like I said, I just have this vivid imagination, and I get ideas from different sources. And mainstream as well as mainstream literature, mainstream media. Um, like the character Moses, I got this character, from the Bible, him and Ramses. Because my wife, make a long story short, my original character was Peter Tucker, and he was a white character. And I kind of got this Peter Tucker character, kind of like a Goku type figure.
Okay.
And then Moses, I got him from the actual character from the Bible, but at the same time, he has that like Black Panther type, Dragon Ball Z type powers. So it all just comes from the stuff that I see and the stuff that I read, and those characters just develop in my head.
That's what's up. So you mixed anime with the Bible a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So what part of the book was the most fun to write?
The most fun is always the action, because every chapter, if you would read my book now, the longest chapter will be all the action in it.
Okay, that's what's up.
Compared to the chapters that slow completely down, is condensed to less pages.
So what do you think the difference between, or is there a difference between an author and a writer?
Mm, well, I would say an author is just a person who write books. So that's like children's book, novel, short story, novella, and whatever's down the list. Writer is just something in general. You have all types of writers. So you have a novelist, essayist, poet, screenwriter, playwright. It's just different avenues as a writer. compared to just being an author. It's just strictly writing books.
So, do you consider a poet? Like, what would the poet fall in the category of a writer or an author?
It kind of goes in the category, I would say, in a way, an author, but it's kind of like in the middle, because you have some poets that's just straight spoken word. They'll say it from the top of the dome.
Yeah.
And I've been around poets that are like that when I used to go to them poetry venues. They used to like spit stuff from the top of their head, and I'm like, man. Especially if you go into these I forgot what you call them places. Them those the poetry slams. That's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they be at it. So, poems that different types of styles of poetry on paper as well as on the top of the dome. That's similar to the griots.
Okay. So, what writers most influenced you?
I'm gonna say a few. I'm gonna name a few. I'll say mostly writers like George Lucas, Star Wars. Especially him being an independent filmmaker, and he was successful for over 30 years before he sold his company to Disney. Mm-hmm. So that definitely inspired me. Stan Lee with Marvel. And I'll say also Octavia Butler, the mother of Afrofuturism, which is the genre I'm writing in. Okay. Studying her inspired me as well as a writer.
So I noticed you use characters from the Bible. So would you consider the book, would it be like more of a what am I trying to say? Would it be like a spiritual type of book? Like God's like religious, maybe, in a way?
I would say in a way, I kind of mix the Bible with Igbo African culture. Which in a way goes hand in hand. The ancient Egypt, all the ancient kingdoms that it's not only just mentioned in the Bible, but in the secular history as well. So I would say most definitely losing my train of thought here, but yeah, I would definitely say I got pretty much got my stuff from the Bible, not just the Bible, but secular history as well. Through African culture. Because the Lion Clan, which is one of the clans in not the Bible, in in my novel, which the main character he's a part of, goes by the Igbo culture, which is West African culture. So it's kind of like a mix up. I talked to with the interview yesterday with Miss Sandra Jackson. Her daughter mentioned that this kind of falls into Bible fantasy, and I kind of took that and ran with it.
That's cool, man. Bible fantasy. So that is that like an established genre, Bible fantasy?
I did look it up. They are like biblical fantasies, but it's like some of the made up stories like Left Behind and about the archangels and stuff. So it's like about real-time prophecy. Compared to my novel, it's an alternative prophecy.
Right. So you really in a category of your own, really.
Pretty much, yes.
That's what's up. In this day and age, it's hard to like create something new. Like
yeah.
That's what's up, man. So what would be the most difficult part about writing?
The most difficult part about writing is writer's block. Yeah, sometimes when you're like super tired, especially if you had a long day of work, or for me, both long day of work and watching my babies, because I got 2 kids, so and they're babies. They're like Irish twins, so they're a year apart.
Okay.
Between that, it can be a lot, and sometimes my brain be fuzzy, and it's just hard to write. So sometimes life can just get in the way to where your brain just fuzzes and you just got to step away for a while. So that's the most difficult part of writing.
Yeah, writer's block. Yeah, all right, yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, writer's block is the worst.
Definitely
For
the
any
one.
writer to have. I
And
don't
then,
care what industry you in.
right. Then if you try to force it,
Yeah, it ain't
then,
gonna do nothing if you try to force it. Yeah,
that is
it's gonna.
crazy. So like, as far as writer's block, what's your best methods of? So I know you said you step away from it, but like, how do you revisit it? Like, what's the process that you use to like get past that?
I'll say the main process of it, for one, sometimes it just, and I tell my students this, just find a hobby. Sometimes going outside, clear my thoughts. That helps me out a lot. Like sometimes looking at nature, because nature influenced a lot of writers in the past.
Oh,
Yeah, you have some writers in the past, especially in the 19th century, that claimed to be one with nature. So nature was always a part of helping a writer. And I kind of embrace that too. Although I don't believe in the one with nature type thing, but I just believe getting fresh air. Fresh air can help a lot, and
so
sleep as well.
you're not up in the mountains with it, nah.
Yeah.
So explain the publishing process.
So the publishing process, that's more on the business side, which I'm still figuring out myself. Because I have my wife to help me out with that as well. I call her like my personal agent.
That's what's up.
So basically in the publishing process, especially you have two avenues of publishing. You have the traditional publishing where once you're done with your novel, you write query letters. And if you write the query letter wrong, the publisher will immediately reject it. They won't even look at your story.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then when the publisher accepts you, especially in the genre I'm in, if they don't like the title, if they don't like anything about the story, they're gonna tell you to change it. So everything you work hard on, they're gonna tell you if they don't like the publisher or the agent don't like it, you gotta change it.
That is crazy.
Yep. As soon as you sign that contract, yeah, you gotta do everything they tell you. Compared to self-publishing, you kind of do it yourself. You find it, but the difference is money coming out of your pocket. So
Yep.
you pay for the cover, pay for your ISBN to make international sales. Just pay for different platforms unless they're free platforms. You can go through self-publishing sites like KDP, Ingram Spark, and different. Lulu is another one. And you publish your book, and then after that, you have to market it yourself, unless you hire a marketer to do it for you.
Okay. It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot being an independent author. Yeah, self-published, which that's what I am. But it's a journey. If you heard of Black Sands, he's self-published, but he became successful.
Yeah, I think being independent with it is like the most secure way to go, especially if you blew up with it. You don't really owe too many people money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like about publishing, what would be your least favorite part about publishing?
The least favorite part is just the marketing. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's like a second job. Yeah, you got to search different platforms, go to libraries, bookstores, schools, make sure your sales, check on your sales, make sure it's going right. You got to see if you can be a part of events. It's just a lot.
So how has writing changed the way you look at yourself?
I'm just gonna say for writing, I won't say that it changes me. It just brings me a type of peace, sometimes writing can give you a peace of mind, and especially especially being a fantasy writer, just stepping out of reality and going into this world and putting it on paper. It's like an escape.
Yeah, it's fun. I remember, what book was it? Oh, yeah. Are you familiar with Lemony Snicket?
I heard of Lemony Snicket. I think I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He had like a series of like book. I remember I read the whole joint, and they was basically like adventurous type of novel for kids or whatever. So I definitely relate to the getting away from reality.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I used to get in trouble in school for reading the book during. I remember that all too well. Like I think I still got some of them books too.
Yeah. Oh
So
wow.
like speaking on that note, I am coming to an end of the interview. And
Mm-hmm.
so we got one more question. Well, two more questions.
Okay.
So this question is, what would be 3 books that you would recommend to the audience?
3 books I recommend. One could be a part of the same series.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say one is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. It kind of reminds you of the African version of Avatar, the different
Okay.
clans, different powers.
Oh, yeah.
But it's based off of the West African culture, the Orisha culture.
Now, when you say
Um,
the Avatar, you're talking about like the arrow on the head Avatar.
yeah, the last Airbender.
Got you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but it's more of like the Orisha Yoruba culture. She got it from.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
I would highly recommend anyone to read that.
So that
Uh,
definitely sounds like something I want to check out.
oh yeah. And then she have part 2, which is Children of Virtue and Vengeance. In which that book, man, it turns up from the first novel.
Okay.
so so yeah, you got a whole lot of war going on in the second part. Like, man, it just makes you want to read more.
Definitely. Definitely.
And the third book I'm gonna say is Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. It's pretty much it's based off of reality, but it's based off of a future. And she written this in the 90s, and this takes place in our time now, the 2020s. But it's more of a dystopian world where and it's in California, so it's real if nobody can drive, and you got a whole lot of people
Oh,
walking in the
man.
highway instead of driving, and people just scavenging like the middle class neighborhoods. It's that story is real. It's deep, man. It's
I
deep.
say Cali about to be there. They taking away the gas stations.
Yeah. Octavia Butler told some truth in the 90s, boy.
Yeah, that's
Rest his soul in
crazy.
peace.
That is crazy. You hear stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then you look at what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So here's the final question. How do you feel about today's interview?
Oh man, yeah, it was good, just sharing a little bit of myself, my novel, it's just spreading literacy, that's the thing about books.
Appreciate it, man. So got anything to add, or you would tell the people where they can find you on social media and whatnot?
Oh yeah, so you can follow me on Facebook, KT Brown. You can go on my fan page as well as my personal page. Follow me on Instagram, KT Brown _077. I also have my YouTube page, KT Brown. Also, you can follow me on TikTok as well.
Cool.
And I have a LinkedIn.
Cool.
Also, one more thing. I do have a website, www.ktbrown.info.
Got you. Definitely put all of that in the description for you. So that way everybody can just go click that.
All right.
Got you. All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate having you, man.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Been a pleasure.
Definitely. All right, you have a great one.
All right, you as well.
Thanks a lot.
All right.